trucking with the Schmitts. Go trucking, let's go truck with these two guys. Gonna get with Tom's opinion, gonna get with Wifey's facts. We'll talk a little schmacky behind the FMCA's back. Let's go trucking with the Schmitts. Some days it's a dream come true, and some days it's the shit, but hey, that's trucking. Let's go trucking with the Schmitts. Might get mad, you might get sad while trucking with the Schmitts. It could be fun if you push one. While we're trucking with let's go roll across the USA with our favorite little Schmitts.
Hello, everybody.
Boop.
That was the beautiful Miss Mandy Jo from Idaho. She does our theme song and does a lot of other cool songs on her YouTube channel. Please check her out. She has now she's a car hauler. And she conquered her fear of heights to drive those cars up on the trailer, and you couldn't pay me enough to ever do that kind of thing. So I have great admiration for her. So thanks for joining us tonight on Trucking with the Schmitts. My name is Lisa, and my co-host, the ever humble Lee.
Wow, you're going to start with that?
Why not? It's been 3 weeks. I've been saving it all up.
Wow. Okay. Hi, how you doing?
So it's been a while. We took some time off. We had some water issues at home, and then last week we were trucking and couldn't stop. So here we are. Lots been happening.
Yes. Those of you that saw the picture saw a bigger hole being dug. That's just in case she gets lippy. Bigger backhoe. I, too, can save stuff up for
digging.
3 weeks.
Oh, people wonder what it's like in the cab of the truck with us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
Your worst nightmare.
Oh, how dare you?
Well, it depends. Some people don't like our sense of humor. Some people think we're fighting when we actually have heated debates. Are we like any other couple that argues? Yes, but what are you going to do? It's not like you can slam the curtain and go to the living room or to a bedroom.
Yeah, well, you don't like the silent treatment either, so what do you want?
A halfway in between happy medium. Basically, how we are on the radio is pretty much how we are in the truck.
You want me to be happy 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and I'm a woman. So that's not possible.
Yes.
No,
you should just
sorry.
be happy that you married me.
Or you married me. Which is it?
I don't know. We'll just let the viewers decide. We'll leave them guessing.
Viewers? I don't think they can view.
The listeners.
The listeners, you mean? Yeah, there you go.
The viewers would happen to be on Mr. John Grosvenor's Truckers Independent Broadcast Network, which he shares us to Facebook, and we are streaming there for people that can't see it. So.
Well, they can't see us there either. What they see is pictures of us.
They see.
They probably don't want to see us.
Right.
I don't think they really want to see us. I've always said I have a face for radio, and I'll just keep that going.
Okay.
We had some water issues at home. We've been hauling back and forth to Arizona, these mask machines, that's been fun. You can talk about getting stopped at the scale last week.
Yeah. Now, we hauled.
No, you don't want to talk about it?
Yes, I do. I'm going to.
Okay.
And
Okay.
we're pulling a curtain side. We got to Missouri and pulled steers, drives across, and he says, come around back. So I go around back and get out, figure I'm going in to show paperwork. No, he's halfway out. He goes, you might as well go back in your truck. So I did, and I told Lisa to start recording. I said, we're going to get inspected. So he comes over. He goes, how's your day going? I said, well, it's going good till now. He goes, yeah. He says, yeah, my day's almost over, and I was sitting waiting, and I saw you coming, and I thought, yep, I'm going to nail him. I said, well, good. I says, because now I'm going to put a wrinkle in your hat. He goes, how's that? I said, I am ELD exempt. He goes, how? I said, well, we got mask machines on. He goes, what? I said, the mask that you're wearing, supposed to be wearing? I says, I got the machines on to make that. So then I jumped out of the truck and I climbed up on a catwalk and opened the door to show him. Okay. He went inside. He didn't believe it. And he says, well, I don't know if that is. And I said, well, this is the epitome of COVID exempt because it's the machines that make the stupid snot rags that are over your face. So anyhow, he comes out and he says, well, I guess it is your lucky day. You're free to go. Okay, we leave.
Well, first he has to see your BOL because he didn't believe you were hauling mask machines.
Yeah. And then we left. Now, he still could have inspected us. There's nothing that stopped him from saying you couldn't finish inspecting me. It threw him out of sorts that I jumped out of the truck. And then when he got over there, I told him I was ELD exempt. See, in my mind, they have a procedure they follow. I want bills, lading, registration, logbook, and try to get you. Well, when you throw them out of their routine, he didn't know what to do. There's nothing that says they can't still DOT inspect you. I just wanted to get that out of the way right away. So.
Well, and he seemed kind of new. He'd been sitting there waiting for somebody with a violation on the scale, and he found none. So he randomly chose you to inspect you, not thinking that you were going to be COVID exempt because you have a Conestoga.
Right.
You know.
Right.
He figured only food in vans is COVID relief, you know.
Which it's not.
And
it's the commodity. It has nothing to do with the trailer. It's the commodity hauled.
Correct. But, you know, generally speaking, you're not going to find any open decks that are hauling COVID relief supplies.
Well, you know, maybe I had coffins in here. Oh, too soon for stuff like that already?
Ouch. That's bad.
You know,
really bad.
It's been 3 weeks.
No, coffins are in hard trailers that say Batesville on the side, so no. That doesn't work.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, it's been 3 weeks. You haven't been able to share your sense of humor with our crowd.
Right. So that was our experience with the DOT.
And then, so one of the mask loads, that particular one, we rushed. You drove 17 hours. I mean, how many miles was it? Like 1,200 and some?
1,268 miles, 17 hours. So that's what I did that day.
And it was funny because when you got down there, they said, oh, we can't unload you today.
Yeah.
And after 3 hours of sleep, hubby kind of lost it.
Yeah. Needless to say, we got empty. So.
Well, he looked in the cab and he saw me and he goes, oh, so you guys teamed it. It's like, no, dude. One guy drove all those miles and got you your machines down here as you wanted in a hurry. And so you're going to unload them.
Yeah.
And they did.
Yeah, or you wouldn't get them again from me. They might get them from somebody
We can
else,
always
but they wouldn't get them from me.
We can always unload them ourselves, too, if that's what you want. They
Right.
won't be pretty by the time we get done unloading them, but we'll unload them.
I have unloaded a load by myself one time. Actually, a load of pipe that a guy got real lippy with me and told me that I couldn't get unloaded till tomorrow, and I was there at 10 in the morning. So.
Yeah, that's not cool. Unless you're going to
No.
pay me to sit here another day. You're taking this off because I got another load to pick up. Excuse me. So you guys are listening tonight on the internet or on Facebook, and you want to call in and be part of the discussion at some point. The phone number is 917-889-3043. And if you want to come on and let us know you're in the queue, push 1, and then a little question mark will light up next to your name, and we'll know you want to talk to us. And since we are amateur radio people and professional truck drivers, we don't have a call screener. So once you're on, you're live. And just by some strange odd chance you tick us off, you can go on live in the click of a button, too. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Not that anybody's going to do that because we have great people that listen to our show. What else do we need?
So what else is on your mind?
To cover yet? Well, I also want to tell people that we're listening tonight expecting to hear Todd Dills. He had a family emergency and can't do it tonight, so we're going to reschedule with him coming up. I was kind of looking forward to interviewing an interviewee. We've been interviewed by him for Overdrive, and it was kind of going to be fun to put the shoe on the other foot and ask him the questions. So I know that you're all familiar with his work for Overdrive, and he does articles literally every week and podcasts. Some of his articles include recorded material, so that's always kind of interesting. Let me see. Yeah, we have to talk about the PROAC. Do we want to get into it right away? Do we want to wait a little bit? I've got a couple other topics we could talk about.
Okay.
Did I lose you?
No, I'm here.
A different topic?
I'm open for any topic you want to talk about. I'm wanting you to defend yours, and I'll defend mine. But if there was anything else you wanted to get into before that.
Yeah, I do. I just want to mention there was an article out this week, and I posted it in Monday Information. And if anybody's listening and you're not a member of Monday Information, you're missing out on the important things you need to know, because that's where I post the information. It's called Monday Information. But I post information on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's just the name of it. There was an article posted, and I wrote, if you read only one article today, read this one. And it was talking about the upcoming transportation bill that we've been promised for years. Well, 2 years, I think, because the FAST Act expired last September, and they were going to get a new infrastructure bill up and running by then, and they couldn't. So they punted, and they just extended the FAST Act for another year. So by September of this year, I'm assuming there's going to be another transportation bill. And why should you be worried about that one? Well, in this article, it stated that the Democrats have every intention of ramming that bill through by reconciliation, which means that the Republicans will have no input. Now, you all know how our government is supposed to work.
Those of you that don't know how it works, it's supposed to be 60 votes to get a bill to pass in the Senate, even though the majority right now is Democrat, which is 51 or 52, I forget what it is, but it's supposed to be 60 votes. And going the that sounds so silly when you say it. The Reconcile Act, is where they only need 51 to get it through.
Right.
So
So that means they don't need any input from the minority because they have that 51 in the Senate, the Democrats do. And even Joe Manchin was saying you need input from the minority. I mean, that's how our government is supposed to work. Both sides are supposed to come together and compromise and work together and decide what is best for this country. And if you've got one side saying, we know what's best, you don't get any input, we're just going to shove this through. Usually those things end up bad for the country. And how would a new infrastructure be bad for our country? Well, we all know that they want our insurance raised. They want fuel tax raised. They want speed limiters on trucks. Even the ATA is pushing for that one. We'll talk about that one in a second. They want side skirts on our trucks. What else, hon? I think those were the 4 big ones.
Insurance, side skirts, speed limiters. That's the only ones I know.
Fuel tax.
Insurance side. Fuel tax. But that's, yeah. But that's still up for debate because they're trying to figure out if they want to do a vehicle
DMT, vehicle mile travel. Right. Which Buttigieg has said he supports, which I'm for if they get rid of the fuel tax system that's already in place. I'm not for it if it's, we're going to have fuel tax and a vehicle miles traveled. No.
Right.
And if you read Buttigieg's statement on that deal, he said they're having an issue on how to track a vehicle.
Yes, because he knows it's illegal to track the private citizens. He said it was illegal to track private citizens. But hey, truck drivers are okay.
But he said also, we've got some things in progress already with the commercial vehicle industry, which totally meant the ELD is already tracking your little hiney across the country. So we could use the miles from your ELD for your vehicle mile travel.
Right.
But Steve, there's no way in heck that they're going to get that passed for cars. And there's actually a company on Twitter that I just discovered. Let me finish this, and you can go. That I discovered today. They're working with like Oregon, because Oregon, of course, wants to put in a vehicle miles traveled since they're going to outlaw diesel in a few years. They have a device that you can put on your car. And I emailed them and I said, how are you doing that, with privacy concerns and tracking concerns? Well, we have it where none of your personal information is given out without your permission. Not even the government can see it. But the company can see it, of course. And then I said, well, what about, tracking? And they said, well, we've even got it done where we can do it without a GPS thing that just tracks, your distance. Which, hey, if you didn't have to use technology, you can just get a device that goes on your odometer and tracks your odometer.
No. See, you're wrong. You're wrong there. You don't even need to do that. You have a thing in your vehicle called an odometer. When you register your vehicle every year, you put down your odometer. Miles. Next year, you put down your odometer miles. Oh, but wait.
Right.
Then you get people that will unplug their odometer.
Right. Or write the wrong number. And how do you know? The thing of that is, some states, every state has a different fuel tax, so every state will want their own vehicle miles traveled. So now you do, in some sense of the word, have to have tracking capabilities to know which state you're in. Or do they just trust you to write down your mileage at every state line?
They do with truckers because we file IFTA based on mileage that we write down.
Yes.
IFTA doesn't come back and say, give me computer printouts, GPS locations of your truck. They've had faith to believe drivers for 70 years. I don't know when IFTA started. But I'm just
anyways,
maybe
when
it's 50
I emailed
years
back
anyhow.
when I emailed back to this company, I said, they're already tracking truckers, and I can't wait for the government to figure out that's, tracking of a U.S. citizen. And their response was, thanks for following. Have a great day.
Yeah.
You didn't want to touch that one, did you?
Yeah.
So
I want to touch the speed limit side of things.
let's do that.
I will touch it as far as saying I had heard they wanted to go back. I didn't read the bill. I didn't read any of it. So I'm going off of hearsay. And hearsay leads to speculation and don't stand up in court. But somebody said that they were going to go back to 1992 era semis and put speed limiters on them. Well, okay. But if you can go back to 92 and put a speed limiter on, why can you not go back to 92 and put an ELD on? Because it has the same computer, and I didn't think it came out in 92. I thought it was 90. I guess it would have been, 92. But anyhow, how can you enforce this? Rumor has it that they're going to look at your log and see how fast you got there. Well, Congress already said that the logbooks cannot be used for speeding violations. They can only be used to keep track of hours of service. Can't write a speeding ticket off of the logbook is one argument. Secondly, in the state of Texas and Oklahoma, there's highways that you can run 80 and 85 mile an hour. And Wyoming and Utah. So you're going to tell me that a cop is going to pull me over doing 70 mile an hour in a 80, 75, 85, and that ticket is going to be upheld in court? Because the state speed limit in that state is 75, 80, 85. So, and then the third thing is this is not a company truck. You have no way to know if I have my speed slowed down. And I know this is where the naysayers are going to say, yeah, but they can plug into your computer. Actually, they need a court order to plug into my computer because they don't have the authority to plug into my computer at a scale house or anything. And if you plug into my computer, I might fry your computer if I have my 6 ports all hooked up hot to 12 volt, considering that they're not supposed to be that way. So I don't have to have my ELD plugged into the port that's outside that the technician would plug into. I can have a dummy port sitting there, hot wired for 24 volt even.
You are such a mean guy.
Hey, you can't plug into my computer. So I'm just, as an owner-operator, I'm just saying, what do they think? We're all just going to bend over and comply? Half the trucking population doesn't bend over and complies and figures out any way possible to avoid doing what the government wants. Now you're going to tell me that owns this truck that I got to be limited to 65 mile an hour just because that's what you feel good? Good luck with that one.
So what you just said about owner-ops and owning their own truck, if it's literally really for safety, they would do it. The problem is speed limiters is not for safety, and we know that. And we've seen that video where you got 2 trucks side by side, and that is not the only argument against speed limiters. You could have a whole row of trucks lined up in the right lane, and now nobody, 4-wheels or trucks, can get on or off the highway. Was that you or the air?
I don't know. It just scared the shit out of me. I'm hoping it was the air, not somebody backing into me, because it just scared the shit out of me.
There's nobody up here at all. Yeah, our whole truck just shook, for those of you that are wondering. He's back in the back in the Conestoga, and I'm up in the cab. I don't know. You have to look out the back. There's brake lights back there.
I am walking to the back, and just in case I lose you for a second, because this guy just backed into me.
He did back into us? That was? Seriously?
Yeah.
All righty then. So we'll talk more about speed limiters. We have all seen the video of the 2 trucks going up the hill. Yeah, that'll be a pain in the ass. But when you have 50 semis that can only go the same speed, and they're all lined up nose to tail, what do you think is going to happen when you want to get over in the right lane? And there's semis that are all going the same speed. Maybe someone will be nice enough to let you in, or maybe they'll be pissed off at you because you allowed Congress to put these stupid things on our truck. Or think about this next one. What about in a pileup? When you've got all these trucks running this close, all at the same speed, and somebody in the pack isn't paying attention. We all know what happens now. There's a huge pileup. Do you think the pileups will stop when we're all going the same speed and we're all nose to tail on a highway? I think they'll get worse. Honey, are you back?
There's a video, and it's either down in Texas or it's out in Wyoming, of another semi that got stuck for miles behind two guys that were racing. And he got tired of it, and he passed him on the shoulder in his semi.
Right.
So not only is road rage there for cars, it's also there for drivers. Now, we waited 13 miles the other day coming across New Mexico, and finally I'm like, are we ever going to get through with this, or are you guys just going to keep racing? And the one guy backed out of it, so the other guy could get around, and okay, then traffic proceeded. But for God's sake, I give him 13 miles. So.
Yeah. Well, and so we forgot to mention that we stopped today at Terre Haute, Indiana, and met Drew Hoover of Indiana Commercial Vehicle Enforcement. And we were talking about that right there, and he said he would rather pull over somebody that's impeding traffic in the left lane when there's a long line of traffic behind them than some guy that's going, 80 miles an hour.
Because the guy that's going 80 miles an hour will get out of the way and be long gone. And
will pay attention.
For speeding. Yep. Yeah. They'll stop him for speeding on down the road, but the guy that's holding up traffic is getting everybody frustrated. So.
Right. And you've got a long line of traffic before, and the statistics will prove that will cause an accident first.
Yes.
So, all right. Let's delve into the big topic, and I want you all to call in with your questions because we want to know. Because one thing for certain, Lee and I are not the know-it-alls about everything. First of all, we're not lawyers, and we don't write legislation. But the first question that I'm going to ask any of you that have done a video, honey, you did a video the other night. Here's my question for you. Here's my question for you. Have you read the PRO Act?
Not when I did the video.
So what was your video about then if you didn't read it?
It was based off of speculation. Actually, it was. It was based off hearsay, what I heard. I didn't read the video.
What you heard?
I didn't read it. Yeah.
Okay.
And actually,
okay.
I'm bullshit. I didn't do a video. We just put that out there for the hell of it. Because I don't want people running and looking for the video. Don't do a video unless you read the bill. Because the bill is very confusing.
If you want to talk about something and try and get support for something, make sure you understand it before you go spouting off about what it's about. So first of all, the PRO Act. Let's talk a little general about it first.
It sounds good. It's good. It's a good thing. Wait a minute.
Why?
It's too soon for me to be. Because
no, go ahead. Why?
Helps.
Why do you think it's good?
It helps all the employees that are being treated unfairly. You're looking at this wrong. This is out there. The government is there. I'm the government. We're here to help me. They want to help me. I am being misclassified. I am being mistreated as an independent operator, whether it be a truck driver, whether it be a lawn trimmer, whether it be an electrician. I am scabbing. I am doing work that way. I am sneaking cash benefits on the side and not reporting it. This way, the government is there to make sure that they're paid what's owed to them, and I'm taken care of properly.
So you're okay with becoming an employee and losing all your independent contractor statuses.
Well,
Why
they're
are you an
looking out
independent
for my
contractor
best
then?
interest.
Why don't you just get rid of your tools of your trade and go work for a company?
I wanted to, but I couldn't find a company that could put up with my temper, my mouth, my attitude. But now I'm in control. I have the power. Once this bill gets passed, I have the power. I am 100% in control because all employers lost any right to anything. I get everything. So it benefits
Okay,
me.
so I'm going to read to you something as soon as I pull it up here because I have to make sure that I'm telling you this correctly. The PRO Act.
Yes, sounds good. Just
It
the
may be
title,
cited as
just the
the
name.
Protecting the Right to Organize Act of 2021.
Yes.
Okay.
Union, here we go.
It is a bill to amend the National Labor Relations Act, the Labor Management Relations Act of 1947, and the Labor Management Reporting and Disclosure Act of 1959.
See,
and
they
for
are
other
so
purposes.
antiquated. They are so outdated. This is a good thing. I'm going to get hate mail so bad tonight.
They're bringing you up. They're bringing you up to the 21st century, is what you're telling me.
Yes.
All
yes,
these outdated
this is good.
labor. Okay.
Yes.
Do you know what the Labor Relations Act did in the first place?
Allowed people to organize. That allowed people to unionize. This is a good thing.
You're right. Right. Okay. So
it was a great thing back in 1947 when people were treated like shit. So this was a good thing back then.
The original Labor Relations Act was 1935. They don't have that on here, but that's when it was. So if you wanted to become a union back in 1935, you could, and the government helped you.
Yes.
And the government doled out all kinds of ways that the unions could interact with companies, employers.
Yes.
You know, they're going to have mediation. You're going to have to come to an agreement, or the union can strike on you as an employer.
Yes, we can.
So now, yep, and if I'm a company and there's a union there, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to let you go on strike, and I'm going to hire people to come in and take your place. I'm going to hire some independent people, independent contractors to come in here.
You can't do that anymore. You can't do that anymore because according to the PRO Act, we put it in place, me and my government official buddies, that you are going to lose all power. You don't get to tell me what you are not going to do or do. I'm the employee. I get all the power now.
Okay.
Am I really screwing up your routine? I was supposed to be good cop, bad cop,
No.
wasn't I? I did this wrong. Okay.
You were supposed to be the employer. You did it wrong. That wasn't on me. That was on you.
I did it wrong.
That's okay. That's okay.
I can switch to that, too. I can switch to that, too. You be the government. Go ahead. I can play either way.
I don't want to be the government. I don't want to be the government. I don't want to be the government. I want to be the independent contractor.
But this is going to benefit all of your employees, all of you independent contractors, because now, me as the government, I get to come in to, we'll just say, Toro. Oh, God, I don't want to get sued. 4-inch strap. I get to come in to 4-inch strap with all my chains and binder employees that are working there. And all my employees that are independent contractors, supposedly, can join my union. And then I can make 4-inch strap except all of my chains and binder employees.
Yes.
Because I am taking 100% control. I
So
am representing Chain and Binder. You are 4-inch strap.
you're the federal government,
Yes.
and in this act, in the PRO Act, it gets rid of right-to-work states.
There's 27 states
And
that
I'm
are right to work right now.
And I'm assuming if this goes to court, which it will, if it passes, they're going to use the Commerce Clause to be able to override states' rights. States are going to fight this tooth and nail.
Yes.
Because
Yes,
I know
I
Wisconsin is one of them that is right to work, which means that if I go to work for a company that there is a union already in place, if I'm right to work, I don't have to join the union.
Right.
If you take away right to work, now I have to join this union, and I have to pay dues.
Yes, and I am
those
going to be
dues-
thankful that you pay them dues because I will get reelected next year, no matter how bad I screw the people. Because
Right.
my 4-inch, my Chain and Binder employees are going to pad my pocket. That's the whole idea behind this.
Yeah, it is.
So all 27
exactly it.
states will lose their right to be a right-to-work state.
Except that they're
And-
going to come back and fight that.
It doesn't matter. I am all-nimpotent Oz government. I am powerful. Because what I will do is turn around and threaten to withhold federal funds. Now, the people that sit and say that, states will rebel against this. The feds try that all the time, and states do what they want. You know what? It only took 3-5% of the highway funds for states to buckle and accept the ELD mandate. It wasn't even part of their budget. It was just 3 to 5% of the highway budget is what would have been withheld if they didn't accept the ELD. And the states buckled. So now me, as the all-omnipotent Oz, I can threaten to withhold a hell of a lot more. And you're going to buckle.
Well,
because
I'm
I
going
am
to try to
doing
beat
this
you in
for the
court
good
first.
of the people.
I'm going to beat you in court first. That is, if
When-
the courts decide to take the case. If they have enough testicular fortitude to take the case.
They will. For the government.
We can't predict. So,
I could
let's
predict
go.
that the Supreme Court will buckle alongside the federal government and not listen to anything that any Midwestern states want to bring to trial. Because the right-to-work states are red states. They're in the Midwest and the South and the West. They're not all red because Wisconsin's blue because of Madison, Milwaukee, but they're basically a conservative state, is right-to-work states. So, see how well that worked out in the last election. And by the way, isn't Trump president? Is it March 5th? 4th? Sorry, I got sidetracked.
Squirrel. When does the PRO Act take effect, according to the legislation?
Takes,
Since you read it now.
PRO Act would take effect January 1, 2023. So, even if it is elected right now, not elected, even if it does go through, it's not till 2023 that it goes through. Did we not just have an election? That was 2020. When's the next election? 2022?
2022, right.
Yes. Congress and Senate.
So the Congress in 2022, if
could
we get the
override
House
this.
back, we could override this before it actually became law.
Correct. So the good thing is we do have 3 years to try to convince you mere sheep that this is a good thing for you. I am really going to get hate mail.
So I just got breaking news off the hot wire right now that Elise Stefanik, a Republican from New York, She submitted an amendment to this bill today in the House that would eliminate the ABC test from the legislation. And the Republican from California offered an amendment that would have removed the so-called B prong, which we're going to get to in just a minute, and how that covers trucking. The House Democrats on the Education and Labor Committee voted down both amendments.
Can I
multiple
ask you a
other?
question?
Sure.
Have you read some of this bill at least?
Yeah, why?
Well, I'm just curious. You're pretty confident sitting on the other end of the phone. I'm the freaking government. Aren't you upset? Aren't you nervous about this bill?
Not at all. Not at all. And we're gonna cover all that, and we're gonna let the nervous people ask their questions, and we'll answer them.
Okay.
So other Republican-backed amendments to carve out exemptions, writers, artists, fishermen, yada, 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 they were all put in too, and they were all disposed of too.
Okay.
Now, a group of House Democrats introduced an amendment to require the U.S. Government Accountability Office to specifically study the impact of the ABC test after it's enacted. That's kind of
I can
dumb.
tell you that it's like 56 million people that are considered independent contractors, 56 or 59 million in this country right now that are independent contractors. So you want to know how it would affect them? Well, let me tell you, they would not be independent. This is what we want. Why do you have to do a study on this? The Democrats want to study on something they want.
Listen to this. The GAO would be required within a year and a half after the date of enactment to provide a report to Congress and the President outlining the effects of the ABC test is having on workers and businesses across different sectors. So you said it doesn't even enact till 2023. Yes. So
right.
in 2025, now they want to find out how these ABC tests affected us.
Well, it'd be June of 24.
A year and a half after
June of 24.
this goes into effect. So after everybody's already lost all their jobs, now we're going to see how it affects you, you stupid government. I thought you were here to help me. I've already lost my damn job. Why do you want to study now? There's nothing to study. I'm gone.
I'm from the government. I'm here to help. Isn't that kind of like, let's do a study on the ELDs and crash data after?
Yeah, well,
sorry. So get
they
back
did a study
I don't want to
before.
Get
No, they did
You're
a
getting
study.
sidetracked.
They did a study before.
So I
26 lives, you remember?
Yes. Why is this not a good thing? Or why should drivers not be worried? Or am I getting too far ahead?
No, you're fine. You're fine. All right. So the very first paragraph I already read you from this bill. This is amending the Labor Relations Act. This Labor Relations Act has been in force since 1935. It was amended in 47 and again in 59. They are.
They're just updating. That's what I just said. We are just updating this. This benefits you mere people that walk around the Capitol and everybody else.
Okay, here's the problem, though. It doesn't do anything good, bad, or indifferent for you truckers that are independent contractors.
No, and why would that be?
All right, so the Labor Relations Act was union companies, literally union companies. If
so
your
do we have
company,
any union companies? Wait a minute. Do we have any union companies out there? Can you name any? I can name one.
UPS.
Yes. Okay.
How many lease operators are leased on with UPS?
Not a single one. Isn't Roadway and Yellow and Knight?
I don't think Knight is.
All of them wiggle wagons. Aren't they all union?
Most of them are, I think.
Okay, well, employees are. They have thousands of owner-operators leased to them, don't they?
FedEx has unions, has independent contractors that are leased on. I do know that.
But FedEx is not union, and we're going to work on that.
Well, here's how this bill is going to work. First off, again, we're not know-it-alls. This will go to court. I promise you, this bill will go to court. Everyone over the past 2 weeks, truck drivers mainly, have been freaking out. This is the end of our industry. Oh my God, we're all doomed. You have two choices. Become an employee or get your own authority. All right, let me repeat this again. The Labor Relations Board Act has been in effect since 1935. So that means it's already affected you if it's going to affect you.
Right.
It's not going to change whether it affects you or not when this bill comes into play.
What do you mean?
If your company is already unionized...
Did I screw up
as the
government? Did I screw up as a government? I'm trying to get everybody. I want everybody union.
Sorry, government. You can't get everybody union.
Oh. So there's a sector that I screwed up on. Can I get them eventually?
Not with this bill. So
you're telling me...
Let's take an example of a company that is 100% owner-operators, and we're not going to mention names.
Okay.
They're all
4-inch
100%
strap.
of their drivers are leased
4-inch strap.
independent contractors.
Yeah. Yes.
The Labor Relations Board Act is in effect already.
Do they have any trucks of their own?
No, none. Zero.
Okay. So they own no trucks, but drivers are leased to them.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
That will continue. That will continue after this act. If the PRO Act is passed, they will still have independent contractors.
And why is that?
This does not get rid of all independent contractors. It only affects, because if you're not a union company, you can have independent contractors. The reason they are changing this qualification, if your company is union, your independent contractors, only for the purpose of unionizing, they get to count them as employees. Doesn't mean they have to sell their equipment and become an employee. Only for the purpose of unionizing are they counted as an employee. Now, I know there's people out there right now. Those Schmitts are stupid. They don't know what they're talking about. I know this. And hey, if you're one of those,
because tonight I am the government, so this is all referring back to you.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I have broad shoulders. Those of you that think I'm crazy, I encourage you to read the bill, then call me. If you haven't read the bill, I don't even want to talk to you unless you have a legitimate question.
Wow.
So I talked to othe about this last Monday when we were traveling down the road because I really wanted to talk about it that night, and then we couldn't have our show. So when you say that this act only affects companies that are under the National Labor Relations Board Act,
yes,
that's the way it is, because it says that right in the bill.
Yeah.
The very first line of the bill is that.
Yes.
So,
it says this
if your trucking
changes,
company,
this changes the wording of a law, yada, 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 such year.
Yes. The law that's already in effect, the law that is already out there and we live under every single day. So if this Labor Relations Act doesn't affect your company today, it's not going to affect your company tomorrow.
But now wait.
So
a minute.
what is it?
Go ahead. Just in case, we got to add a clause. Just in case we could be wrong, because we're not know-it-alls and we're not right 100% of the time. So just in case we could be wrong, I got an idea that was tossed out by Trucker G, which actually is plausible. Do you want to hear it now or do you want to wait?
I'm going to wait 2 seconds because I want to cover something first.
Okay.
I am Elida's biggest critic when it comes to not standing up, where we can see you standing up and know that you're standing up for us.
Yes.
So back in 2019, this bill was passed through the House, and Hawaii wrote a letter back then saying that they didn't like it and why, yada, yada, yada. So the House is the same as it was back in 19. It passed the House then. So we can all relatively figure it's going to pass the House again.
Yes.
The fight will be in the Senate. And we talked about this a little bit earlier, the filibuster and reconciliation and things like that. I don't think the Senate's going to use any of those things to get this through, because I think you can only use reconciliation when there's a certain amount of money involved. That I think. I'm not 100% sure on that, because there's so many laws rattle around in my head and some fall out sometimes. So there's, from what I hear from OIDA, there's approximately 10 senators that are against this. So we know that without those 10, this isn't going to pass. They need 60 to pass it. So even if you have all 50 Republicans, you need 50 Democrats, you need 10 Republicans. They're not going to get 10 Republicans to join this. So another reason why we're not panicking, freaking out, if you all think about this, you all think that this is going to eliminate all independent contractors. Okay. First of all, the Chamber of Commerce of the United States of America is against this.
Right.
The ATA for sure is going to be against it. I was going to go to their website today to find out any press releases, and I forgot. I didn't have time.
Well, can you tell me why they would be against it?
Yes.
They're for the mega companies.
First of all, has a lot of independent carriers. Yeah, they're for the mega carriers. They're not for the mega drivers. And what do the mega carriers do with independent contractors?
Fuck them. Sell them a good used truck.
And make them believe that they're a business owner.
Yes.
And they can foot all the bills, like the fuel and the insurance.
Yes. And Social Security tax.
Pay them pennies on the mile.
Workman's comp.
Yes.
And make money off them. And that's all going to stop. And we're okay with that as the mega carriers, aren't we?
Oh, no. That's the mega carriers model. After we train you for 2 whole weeks and give you your own truck and give you miles so you can pay back your training, once your training gets paid for, now we're going to make you an owner-operator and give you the American dream, and you can own your own business and see the country at the same time.
Yes.
And we're going to strap you with $1,000 a week truck payments and insurance payments and fuel payments.
Yes. You sound like a spokesman for the ATA.
Well, so there is predatory lease. This is what this is called, predatory leasing, that big companies do. And yes, that is bad. It is horrible. Is this the way to fix it? Absolutely not. And that's been OIDA's stance on this back in 2019 when they wrote their letter. There's got to be a way to stop that predatory leasing and getting rid of all independence.
You're making this all sound bad. I mean,
the PRO Act?
Yes, I'm from the government. I have good intentions. I want to help drivers. And
I get that. I do. But here's the thing.
I could be speaking out of turn and throwing somebody under the bus, but I'm for drivers, and I've never talked to any, so I'm just throwing this out there. But I've seen video where they've talked to my buddy Bernie Sanders because of these predatory leases that they got wrangled into. Isn't this going to help them?
Well, let me tell you this. California AB5, this is exactly why it was started, to help those those port drivers on the West Coast that were getting treated like crap. And the first thing that happened when it went to court was the judge exempted trucks from the AB5. So we're going to exempt the trucks from the AB5.
There's a court case on that. It's still in court.
Yes.
That's
on
not
AB5.
settled. Yes.
Right. Yes. So now, how does this PRO Act is not good for truck drivers. I'm going to tell you that up front.
Why?
Let's take away all the other things that I've told you. They're still in effect, but we're just going to set them to the side for 1 minute. Let's deal strictly with the ABC test.
Okay.
If this ABC test gets passed through federal legislature, the prong B, where you are doing the same kind of work as the company that you contract to.
Yes.
That is the one that will somehow, some way, someday, maybe affect truck drivers.
Yes. But there's a way around that.
Yep. 2 minutes. Then we're going to talk about that. The IRS already has their own ABC test. When you pay your taxes, you're an independent contractor to the IRS. But if this one gets passed through federal legislature, it will be much easier for every other arm of the government to say, well, let's use this ABC test over here that the PRO Act put in. Let's use that one to determine whether or not you're an independent contractor. Now, remember, I told you this PRO Act is only determining this ABC test for the purpose of unionizing. No other thing. Health benefits, if you are determined that you are an employee based on the ABC prongs in the PRO Act, your employer, union or not, still does not have to offer you health care. So it does nothing other than count you as an employee when you're voting on if a union should come into your company or not, or if a union should go away from your company, because that is one thing that this bill does. It makes it easier to get unions away from your company if the majority of employees feel that the union is no longer representing them.
But that is not going to be allowed to go through because that is going to take away my money laundering scheme that is putting me in office. It's in the bill, hon.
It's in the bill.
No, that'll never go through. That'll get struck out. That's going to get taken out because you're not going to take away my money laundering scheme that I've got going on, that I've established for 40 years, 60 years.
You'll have to go find another company then and get your people. The other thing that this bill does when it changes the Labor Relations Board Act is you do not get to vote for or against the union in secret anymore. Because what was happening in the old days, they had public votes, and if you voted no to the union officials would come in and bully you and threaten you and every other thing to get you to vote for the union. Well, then the law was changed so that union votes could be taken in secret. And this bill wipes that out, too. Now it brings back the public union voting.
Yes. It's all to benefit me.
So now the unions can bully you again. Yes.
Yes. And I also have wrote in this bill that if I, as chain and binder employees, decide to join a union and you as 4-inch strap are against it, or I am union, and you have 2-inch strap come in and do side work, I can take chain and binder employees and we can picket 2-inch straps non-union working place also.
Yes.
So employers that are not union whatsoever can be picketed and picked on and discriminated against because you belong in this. This is for the betterment of me.
And that is in this bill. And this is why this bill is coming. Because, so right now when a company strikes from the union, the owner of the company just goes and hires other employees, other independent contractors to come in and work. That is what this is getting rid of, because the unions want the company to be without workers, period, while we're striking. If we are not going to work, your business isn't going to thrive.
Right.
That's what this is
and
for.
This is where I wanted to play employer and you be fucking government, but it didn't work out that way, so we'll have to switch it around. Maybe we'll take a few calls. But we did come up with a plan that might work that Trucker G had thought about and mentioned.
Right.
Can I say that now?
Yes. Yes, now is your time. You're on.
Let's use any owner-operator that might have 4 or 5 trucks leased to him.
Corner View Trucking. Use Corner View Trucking.
Okay. I have my own authority, and I have 5 trucks leased to me, 5 drivers. A way around this could very well be that you're not my employee anymore, or an independent contractor to me, because in the lease agreement that you sign or contract, I am going to give you 0.001% of this company. You are now a owner of this company.
Right.
You are not a subcontractor, independent contractor. You are now a owner of this company.
Right. So your daily business isn't working for me, it's working with me.
Correct. See, the government can come up with shit, and there's always somebody that's smarter than them stupid idiots. Always. So then I had mentioned what G had said to somebody, and they're like, well, that's up to the lawyers to decide. I said, exactly. And until somebody can prove me wrong, meaning Washington, D.C. and their bureaucrats, they'd have to take it to court. And now, here's something that came to mind today about this. How would you enforce this? The only enforcement we have is FMCSA, DOT audits.
Mm-hmm.
At a scale, they look at my registration. They could say, let me see your lease. Fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not leased to anybody. Prove it. It's not up to me to prove that I'm not. It's up to them to prove that I'm leased to somebody. And then, all right, just came to mind, somebody will say, your registration says lease too. Huh. I own the company. Prove I don't. Take me to court. You can't do shit to me.
I don't know,
like
but
speed limiter
as we know with every single bill that comes through this government, nobody thinks of the unintended consequences. So,
should people be worried about this bill? Yeah, probably, because if it does go through eventually, somebody's going to figure out that they fucked up, and they're going to reword language in the National Labor Relations Act.
or they're going to carry this ABC test to every other aspects of the government.
Yeah.
Now the IRS is going to say you're not an independent contractor if you're leased on with a carrier that has their own trucks.
Right. Somebody will figure out that they screwed up and didn't get everybody. But it's not going to happen right away. This doesn't go into effect until 2023. By then, there'll be, hopefully, Democrats completely out of the House and Senate. God only knows. But we've got
well,
that
and even if that does happen, even if that does happen, let's hope the Republicans have testicular fortitude to stand up and get rid of this stupid, idiotic bill.
Right. But
you know, and in
the
that
way
respect,
it is right now, even if they do pass everything, somebody will figure out that they didn't figure out how to eliminate all truck drivers.
Well, the other thing that'll happen is what we've seen every single law that comes through the FMCSA DOT, which is, we have to postpone it because the states can't enforce this. You know,
right.
So name
like
one bill that hasn't been postponed. Yes.
Right.
Yes. That and the ELD was postponed, you know, until they finally figured out that they could do it in bits because the mega carriers couldn't get rid of their AOBRDs.
Wait a minute. Now, the asshole side of me has to come out now. I've been in government long enough.
It always does. Okay.
It has to. Let's just throw figures out there. There's 3.5 million CDL holders, truck drivers in this country, right? We'll say that there are 2 million company drivers and that there's 1.3 million owner-operator lease-purchase drivers, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Whether they're going through a lease or whether they're owner-operators. We'll just say there's 1.5 or 1.3, whatever there is. It's nowhere near half. Let's just say that this goes through and all of these drivers are in a tizzy, or the government thinks that they're going to pull one over on us and say all drivers are in this program no matter what. They have to be. You know what? 1.3 or 1.5 million of us that could actually say fuck off and park our trucks. Do you know how
you're holding
much
your
of an
breath for that
impact
one?
that would be? I am. But do you know how much of an impact that would be? Because 1.3 million drivers, we can't get drivers to agree on a cup of coffee or that it's dark out right now. But if you tell 1.3 or 5 million of us that we all have to belong to a union, that we all have lost our right to
independent contractor
to somebody, yeah. Do you know how fast and how much stuff we actually move? Anything major.
Yeah.
It's mostly owner-operators that are moving oversize. It's mostly owner-operators that are doing open deck big stuff. It's a lot of owner-operators that do reefer. A lot. There is not enough mega fleets in the country to take place of what would happen if 1.5 million of us said, okay, we'll show you what's going to happen if you want this. We can actually show you how much power we have with the 1.5 million of us if we grow some spine and testicular fortitude.
Yeah. All right, let's take a break. I've got a caller that wants to come in. Let's talk to him, and then I've got some other stuff I want to throw out at you.
Okay. So you're not worried about anything?
Okay. No. Are you? Are you
Okay.
still panicked after our whole discussion now?
I never panicked to begin with.
Okay.
All
right.
Don't.
1290, you're live.
How you all doing today?
We're doing good. How are you doing?
I'm really doing. Can you go back to being Mr. Government? Because I actually that's what makes me like Lisa even more.
You know, it's all based on good intentions. I didn't read it all. I can wholeheartedly say I did not read it all. I had to drive. But I did read 10 highlighted topics on an article I found about it. And the highlighted parts that I read, I can't find anybody that's for this, actually, other than unions. You know, everything that I've read is against an employer, basically.
I can agree with you guys to an extent. But the problem is, and I think one of the problems that many people are realistically overseeing, is that granted, will it pass the Senate? Thank God it probably will not pass the Senate. There is a high chance that it will not. Will there be lawsuits applied? Of course there'll be lawsuits applied. And we hope that they will be successful with some of the lawsuits. Have there been already studies under the ABC? Well, you look at California, for instance, and there's the biggest study above all. Thousands and thousands of owner-operators and lease-on operators were put out of work immediately by almost every mega carrier across the board, only because they resided in California, where this originally started from. So now, if this law is supposed to mimic what California is under the federal code system, and even though we have already reinterpreted or reclassified under the IRS code, I think one of the things in which you're missing is that the only way that anybody as a resident in California was able to realistically escape from this would be A, move, of course, out of California, B, get their own authority, of course, and then drive for a company under brokerage division. But that would mean that they would, A, have to still accept a check as an employer, and then they would have to have a rental agreement with the carrier. And then basically they would pay themselves their own salary as an employee. And in most cases, they would have to be under minimum wage. If they're not under minimum wage, okay, or if they use minimum wage, the IRS could come in and basically charge the individual for shielding income. And it will be used, the IRS will be the full enforcement, not the FMCSA or not the Department of Labor. None of these departments even have the manpower capability or even realistically the authority to do so. But the IRS does. And they will make sure they do that in order to collect revenue.
So how is the AB5 ABC test different from this ABC test? Because I have to be honest, I haven't read the AB5 ABC test.
The AB5 is supposed to be basically mimicked, okay? Even though there has been already, John and I have already discussed this before, and he's already sent me basically the reclassification. I understand that part of it, okay? The only problem comes down to is there have been thousands of people who are lease-on operators, for instance, for companies. I would say I can't even give an exact number of how many thousands that are lease-on operators, okay? Once AB5 was commenced, and we're talking from very big mega carriers, they've instantly told them that you are no longer allowed to be able to be leased on with us no more. You have to become an employee. The problem comes down to is how would the individual, because when you do your taxes, for instance, and the majority of people who do their taxes, the government doesn't really care. The only thing they want to see is what they call reasonable income. The question will be asked to the IRS, what's considered reasonable income? The IRS will not answer that question. But if you try to shield your income so hard or so low to where your matter of living expense, if I may say, or how you live is far below what they would consider how you live, then they would consider you as an individual called shielding your income, and they could charge you for that. And that's one of the means and ways to do. Go ahead.
I don't own this truck. I sign a lease wherever I'm at under my trucking company. My trucking company signs the lease. I'm an employee of my trucking company. So
they would have to be, therefore, an employee to the company in which you are leased on with. And then it won't be a lease anymore. You will have to have what they call a rental agreement with that company.
So why can't I own a percentage of that company?
You can own a percentage of that company, but then you're going to have to explain to the
IRS.
IRS.
I would not be an employee anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
I would be, right. So our theory of saying all you have to do is give each employee a share, a percentage of a share, and put them as an owner.
Go back to why we own our own equipment. We own our own equipment, and we lease on with a company because we still can turn down loads. They can't tell us where we go, when we go, and how to go. They cannot. No forced dispatch when you're a leased operator. So we're not an employee in that manner. And that passes all the IRS tests that we are our own people. So, like I said before, prong B under the ABC test, which is if we do the same work that our employer does, which there are companies that have their own company trucks and they hire on leased operators. Those are the leased operators that could be in harm's way if this ABC test is also applied at the IRS level, as you said.
But if company A is nothing but a company that gets freight doesn't own a truck and you haul freight for company A, say all they are is a brokerage, basically.
You will
then
have
I'll
to, in
throw
other
the
words,
name
keep
out
your
there.
own authority.
I will throw the Diamond Trucking. They don't
Your
own
option-
a truck. Diamond
your
Transportation.
option-
They don't own a truck.
Your option only under the AB5 rule in California, at least, is to get your own authority, drive for the company under the brokerage division, which will, of course, increase significantly your costs, to be honest with you,
Right.
especially the administrative responsibilities, okay, or become an employee, or deadhead out of California. You can deliver a load into
Right.
California, but you can't pick up a load out of California. Or your other option would be to end the relationship altogether with the carrier.
Right.
That's
But
the
if
only
the
option.
carrier
in
doesn't
California.
even do trucking, and they just have the loads,
Mm-hmm.
how could you not
And they
be
have-
leased to them?
The majority of all carriers out there have brokerage. The majority, especially all the mega carriers.
Right.
All of them have
Right.
brokerage. So they will
Yes.
escape out of that through their brokerage, and they'll utilize their brokerage in order to do that. The only problem comes down to is how is it going to be realistically defined? And like you said before, then they're going to have to do studies after the bill is passed. You see, the problem is we kind of allow these things to realistically happen, but we never really understand what's going to happen 5 years from now or 10 years from now when it comes to the outcome of these type of measures. So unfortunately, what we're being faced with is a definition of a reclassification that has been probably long overdue, and I kind of agree. So you're not the only one that's going to get the hate mail. I can kind of agree on how it could benefit for many owner-operators that already have their own authority. But for an individual who's either leased on or has a lease agreement with a carrier without their own authority, they're going to have to obtain their authority almost ASAP. You know the cost of you know how much it costs to obtain an authority, am I correct?
Yep.
Okay. And then
$300.
Yeah,
you
but
also
if the
know
insurance,
it's a lot
Well, yeah,
more
but
than
you have to
$300 that's involved. Yeah,
but you have
There's
to
a
get
lot more than
insurance
just-
and everything else.
exactly. And then
The
also
insurance is what
qualifying,
costs you. It's not the cost of getting your own authority.
right? But the
It's the
cost
insurance.
also comes down to where the brokerage will qualify you to work for them, because the majority of brokerages require you to have at least your authority for 1 year
Yes.
before you can actually carry any freight with them. So now you see
Yes.
the
Right.
hurdle, the way how government has totally misdirected this idea that it's going to try to kill not only right to work states, but it's almost purely beneficial just to unions, of course, which we know that.
Yeah.
But look at the process of what an individual is going to have to go through in order for he or she to keep their business or to keep themselves alive in their business at this time. And that's the
Right.
problem.
Well, okay.
That's where I said that we, as the owner-operators, if it got to that point, we have the power. It's just we can't agree that we should do anything.
Well, we have the power. We have the true financial power that we should be utilizing. And I'm really sorry, and then I'm going to get a lot more hate mail than you for saying this. But if you're not,
Okay,
if you
I'm
chose
glad.
to become good. I'm glad too, to be honest with you, because I really don't care. I'm going to say this very plain and simply. You chose to be a business person. You chose to come to becoming a trucking company. You chose to become an owner-operator. Then you need to enact yourself as a business person, and you should actually be aware of the certain rules and laws that are upcoming and be ahead of the curve when it comes to these types of things. If you're not ahead of the curve, then I'm sorry, you deserve to be put out of business. I'm just plain saying it straight out. If you think that only $4,000 to $5,000
I agree
gross
with you
a
too.
week is, if you think that only $4,000 to $5,000 gross a week is realistically significant, then it may be significant for you at now, but you're not looking at what's coming up in front of you on your ahead costs. Sad part about it is, will this bill pass? The sad part is how we're missing the big point on how government itself wants to try to take away independence. It is a pure all-out war of independence. And that's one of the things in which we are not carrying ourselves into when it comes to this. We're thinking the hero complex, march to D.C., march to other places, and think that we're going to get things instant gratificationally resolved. And I'm sorry to say this, it's not going to happen. I think everybody does live in the negative bubble world, but the point of the matter comes down to is when you make little wins, little battles, such as this, like we've already have in the past, okay, then we can look at the all-round big picture of trying to really win what is true. And then, I'm sorry, there's always going to be something to fight about. There always will be. There'll be a new generation that will find something profound to them, and we can ask all of our brothers and sisters that fought all the way back since before the 1982 Surface Transportation Act. And you can ask them now if they would come in and help us fight, and they're looking at it like, I'm old. I'm retired. This is your industry now. It's your generation that needs to decide to fight for this or not. I'm done.
Right.
Yeah, I get kind of mad at those people, and this is where I'm going to get some hate mail, because these people say, well, it doesn't affect me. I'm retiring in 3 years. You know, I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
That pisses me off, because it's your fault that we're in this place in the first place, because you were not paying attention during your career, and you allowed all this crap to happen. So now here we are, you know, a year from autonomous trucks, or, you know, we've got no parking because you all didn't fight it during this time, all these issues, and yet everybody's just retiring, and whatever, doesn't affect me. That pisses me off.
There's going to be one way or another. There's going to be one way or another. You're going to retire out of it. The government's going to either force you to be retired, to be honest. Okay, let's just be really quite frank and honest, because the government doesn't care. And I'm sorry to say this. It doesn't matter what political party or spectrum that you believe in. If you think it's going to be the Republicans or the Democrats that are going to realistically save the trucking industry or our industry, I am sorry, but you are basically fool and blind. It's Marco Rubio, as well as a Democratic senator, that is trying to reintroduce the rail guards on our trucks. Yeah, the side curtain system. That's a bipartisan bill measure, both by Republicans and Democrats. We're not pointing the finger. Okay, I'm sorry. I will, but, you know, and I think you guys will too, especially you, Lee.
Oh, yeah.
Or Mr. Government. Mr. Government over there. You know,
I'm here to
but
help.
The point is, yeah, good. I'm glad. The point is, if we don't wake ourselves up out of this reality, and, you know, not be informed, not be willing to educate, not be willing to talk to people, and not looking basically and taking advantage of the little wins that we've had, and I understand they're little wins. I'm sorry. I applaud OIDA. I utilize the split super birth rule almost 3-4 times a week, and I use it totally for my own benefit, and I applaud it. And I think that there is a lot of people like you, and your husband too. I'm sorry. It can be applauded too as well for all the information and everything else, in which everybody tries to do. And we could applaud John for bringing in, you know, the panel, as well as, you know, Miss Arlene and Sean, you know, everybody. What burns me is that there is so much waiting for you right in front of your own faces, so many opportunities that are right in front of your own faces, that you don't take advantage of it. You let it go on the wayside. You know, everybody was so upset and mad about the ELD. I worked my absolute ass off, as well as other people, to have a bill that was introduced. Unfortunately, and I'm sorry to say this, guys, it was brought by a Democrat out of the great state of Minnesota, Mr. Colin Peterson, for 10 trucks or under to be ELD exempt. There was hardly nothing but crickets when it came towards it. There was a chance. So
nobody wants to fight unless
it
affects them personally. Nobody wants to fight unless it affects them personally. So that's the problem.
Exactly. Well, great show, guys. I really appreciate it. My girl is calling me, and I got to go. But Mr. Government,
all right.
By the way, I want to just say, in behalf of the over 2 million truck drivers actively out on the road, to the Mr. Government, you can go after yourself. Thank you. Have a nice day.
I'm here for the government. I know where you live.
No problem.
All right. Have a good night.
Take care, guys. God bless.
Have a good
Thank
night.
You.
Thanks.
So now I want to take this into a little bit step further.
Okay.
We've already determined that the National Labor Relations Board Act has already been in effect.
Yes.
How it affects you today is how it's going to affect you tomorrow.
Unless.
After this bill is in. No. But we're going to get a little bit deeper, because this bill, the purpose of this bill is to help people organize, right? And join a union.
Yes.
Okay. I've got another caller on, and I'm going to bring him on in just a couple seconds, but I want to cover this point leading into what I know he's going to talk about. Truck drivers can't organize.
Why?
Period.
Really? Are you
Yes,
saying my
really.
organizational skills are bad? Why can't we?
Okay, so I'm going to just bring this guy on, and he can listen to this part.
Okay.
I'm going to try and explain this, Richie, and if I get this wrong, I want you to step in, okay?
All right.
Are you there, Richie? All right. So
Yeah,
if
I'm here.
a truck driver, a group of truck drivers, a group of owner independents, people who own their own trucks, because we already know that the Teamsters can organize, they can strike, they can do whatever they want. But if us independents want to get together and organize our own little union, and we want to fight the rates, so we want to go to our company and say, we want better rates. So we're going to organize and we're going to strike.
Yes.
The first thing
This
the
is what I
government is
want.
going to do, is they're going to come in and they're going to sue you for the antitrust laws, because what you are doing is price fixing against commerce. Price fixing is illegal.
Yeah, that already happened in Savannah, Georgia, back in 1999. A port trucker named Jim Stewart was trying to organize the drivers, and he was asking for a 5% increase in the rates. And the Federal Trade Commission came after him and said, hey, listen, that's a violation of the antitrust laws, and you're price fixing. So from that point on, they haven't tried to organize themselves.
Because we'll get shut down by the government.
Yeah,
and here is the government giving...
The antitrust
Sorry,
law
go
says
ahead.
that the antitrust law says that businesses are not allowed to collude with each other to fix the market. So basically,
Right.
if you're an owner operator and you have your own LLC, you're in business for yourself. But since you don't have your own DOT number or your own cargo insurance, you're leased to another carrier and you're running under their authority. So it's like a catch-22. You know, you're independent, but yet you're not independent because you don't have your own authority. And what's happening here at the ports in New York and New Jersey, 77% of us are independent contractors. Yet when we get dispatched, we are not asked for an estimate for our labor, and we have practically no say over the rates, none whatsoever. And so if we ever do try to organize ourselves, it would be a violation of the antitrust law. That's why the PRO Act has the ABC test. So to be a union, you have to be an employee. So it's a very complicated issue. And I've been talking to a few congressmen, and I've reached out to Cory Booker about this. I told them, listen, just examples from the antitrust law. If you really wanted to unionize, just examples from the antitrust laws. But they refused to utter those words. They did not want to repeat those words. And there's already a group of people in the economy that are exempt from the antitrust law. Baseball players, farmers, utility companies, cable companies, labor unions, railroad companies, insurance companies. They're all exempt from the antitrust law, so why not give it to us? That's the problem.
So this PRO Act is trying to look out for us independent people. Actually, it's looking out for the unions. It's not looking out for us. But if they want to give us the right to organize, just give us the right to organize by exempting us from the antitrust laws, right? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. But the thing is, the Democrats, they want the carriers to start paying into all of the other expenses that are involved with having employees. They want them to start paying into SSI, workman's comp, and all the other stuff. That's the problem.
Right.
So we can't have it both ways.
They want the union dues upped.
Well, the union dues, you know, it's not really a huge deal because when you pay union dues, what you're paying for is dental, health insurance, lobbying power. A lot of these unions, they use these union dues to lobby politicians and to donate to political candidates that are very union friendly.
Yes.
If you go into the ports of New York and New Jersey, you'll see how powerful the longshoreman union is. They could literally shut down the entire country if they wanted to. If they all went on strike, nothing will come in and out. And the port drivers, unfortunately, we don't have that power because we're not organized. Every time we call for a boycott or for a strike, a few of us participate, and the rest of them just keep going to work.
But that's the trucking industry all over.
True. Yeah, that's true. The problem is
That's
that we
because they have us. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, the problem is we're having a hard time communicating. There's approximately 9,500 port truckers here at the ports of New York and New Jersey, and we're trying to have a form of communication on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. But a lot of these drivers, they don't have social media, so if we do call for a boycott, the ones who are not in our Facebook group, they don't get the message. So it always fails.
Well, and I think that's the trucking industry all over, getting our word out. Like the drivers that were in D.C. last May had no idea that there was any people that had already been to D.C. They had no clue. So
yeah.
Because we're all busy, we're all working, we're all doing our own thing halfway across the country. I can't talk to Joe Blow in California, somebody's in Georgia, somebody hauls beef, somebody hauls reefer, somebody hauls open dock. There's too many different sectors that don't, and the issues don't affect each sector. Somebody that does bull cattle in Wyoming, they don't have a parking issue. They've got a zillion places to park. But now, where were we, honey? Oklahoma City. There was nowhere to park last night.
No, Tulsa.
Or was it Tulsa? Yeah. So somebody that drives cross country and goes through Tulsa every week, they have issues parking. So these issues don't affect everybody, and that's the problem. So
yeah,
when was the trucking under this antitrust? When did that come in effect? Do you know?
Well, the antitrust were written back in 1890, and back in 1890, independent contractors didn't exist. It was either you're an employee or you're just a factory owner or something like that. So it wasn't a huge deal until these app-based companies started springing up, like Uber, Lyft, DoorDash. That's when the Democrats really started noticing that, wow, these guys, there's a lot of people out here who are classified as independent contractors, yet they're not being treated like real independent contractors.
Right.
That's the problem, is that the antitrust laws is a very outdated law. And when they were written, independent contractors didn't exist. So that's why I propose an idea, if you have to make a new classification, how about just classify it as dependent contractors? And that exists in other countries. I know in Spain there's a thing called independent contractors where you're not really fully independent, but you're on your own stuff. So you're in this middle ground called dependent contractors, and you kind of enjoy like some of the benefits of being an employee and then some of the benefits of being a dependent contractor.
Right. I understand that. So, I don't know.
Here at the ports, we need some sort of unity. We need it doesn't have to be a union per se, but we need some type of collective bargaining power here at the ports because we're the biggest port stakeholders. We outnumber everybody by a lot. We outnumber all the other port stakeholders, yet we are the weakest. We are the most disenfranchised and the most marginalized. And quite frankly, it's ruining the quality of the port trucking industry because if you've noticed, a lot of these port truckers, their trucks are falling apart. A lot of them, they don't speak English very well because all of the American drivers left. They got fed up with the bull crap and they just left. So what you have left is a lot of drivers with trucks falling apart. They don't speak English very well. So it's a problem here. It's a huge problem. Everybody knows we're being taken advantage of. Everybody knows we're being robbed at some point. Some of these carriers don't even give us a fuel surcharge. They pocket it. They give them a fuel surcharge, and they don't give it to the drivers. They just keep it to themselves. So yeah, we need some sort of collective bargaining unit that will defend us because if you have one ant by themselves, it's powerless. But if you have a whole army of ants, united and fighting with each other, for each other, it will be a force you can't reckon with.
Right. So let me ask you this question. So if you guys are going to collectively bargain, what would you bargain for? The rates to go up?
Well, what we would bargain for is, so for example, all of our trips is round trip. We go from the port to the customer and back to the port. So It's a round trip. But there's something called a street turn. And a street turn is this, is when you go from the port to the customer, and then you go to another customer and then come back to the port. We call that a street turn. And these carriers are charging the customer round trip. Both customers, they're charging them round trip, but they're only giving us half of that. And that's complete greed. You know, we're out there doing the work, and they're keeping most of the profits. You know, with containers, when you're hauling a container, you're going one direction, either empty or full, right? So if I go from the port to the customer, and I get offloaded at the customer, and then go to another customer and get reloaded for an export, and then come back to the port, I actually get paid for both of those trips, but I'm only getting half of them, and the carrier is charging both customers round trip. That's one of the issues we want to get rid of. You know, we're being robbed. For example, I'm going to give you another example. So when we go into the ports, the first 2 hours are free. We don't get paid for the first 2 hours, and after 2 hours, we start getting paid detention time. Well, when I go to the port in the morning, I give 2 hours for free. Then I go to the customer, and I get paid detention time after 2 hours, and then come back to the port, and that's another free 2 hours. So if you really add it up, for every day, I'm giving up 6 hours for free. I'm not being paid for 6 hours. That's another problem that we want to take care of. You know, we should get paid for every single time we're working.
Can I ask you, as an outsider that has nothing to do with containers, and I go in and I pick stuff up from ports, but it's not a container. It would be oversized stuff usually. Why don't you guys stop anybody else from pulling in there, hauling containers out? You know, isn't there enough of you that could stop the other guys that don't even speak English and say, look, stop this. We need to stop.
We don't have a form of communication. There's 9,500 of us. And, for example, in the Facebook group that I admin, it's called NY/NJ Peer Trucker. We only got 2,000 drivers. So let's say, for example, we get 2,000 drivers to stop going to the ports. Well, guess what? You have the rest of them, the rest of the 8,000 or 7,000 drivers still going in and out of the ports. And no matter how much I try, I talk to these drivers in the ports when we're waiting for our container. I'm like, hey, listen, join the Facebook group. We're uniting here on Facebook. They're like, oh, I don't have Facebook. Oh, what's the point? You know, a lot of these drivers don't have social media. So the issue always comes back to communication. We have no way of communicating with all 9,500 drivers.
All right.
Okay. Have you thought of filing a claim under the National Labor Relations Act?
Yeah, I've actually called the National Relations Board, and they told me that, well, you know, since you're an independent contractor and you signed an agreement, a lease agreement, there's nothing much we can do for you because, you know, they can only help employees. That's why the PRO Act is going to be expanded. The National Labor Relations Act is going to be amended, and it's going to expand their powers to include, I'm not quite sure, to include independent contractors. So if the PRO Act passes and I call the National Labor Relations Board and I say, hey, listen, I think I'm being misclassified, they could come in and investigate and be like, yep, this guy's misclassified. He's an employee.
Okay.
So why can't some of you just go, Jimmy Hoffa's not alive anymore, but go to a Teamsters and say, look, we need to unionize?
Well, again, you know, the antitrust laws, we can't. I mean, the company driving to the ports, they can unionize. They can unionize because the vast majority of us, 77% of us are owner-operators. We can't unionize because they'd be considered colluding with each other and price fixing. So
Right.
that's why I spoke to my congressman about this. I said, listen, man, if you want us to unionize, exempt us from the antitrust laws. But they don't want none of that. They want it's all about making us it's about making the carriers pay taxes. They want to raise revenue.
So even if a union were to come in, but then you would be employees. But because you're truckers and you're protesting, it's going to raise the rates. Will that be construed as antitrust? Fixed price fixing?
I think it would, because it would be considered a violation of the Interstate Commerce Act. Because you know, we deal with so many freight going across the borders that if we all tried to strike, they would find who's responsible, who's the leader of this, and they'll be like, listen, you're interfering with intercommerce, and that's a violation of the law. So we can't even, if you really think about it, we can't even strike.
Right, exactly. So what's the point in unionizing? This is
Well,
what I'm
if we're legally allowed to unionize and we're recognized by the government as an official union, we could, you know, at least have some leverage over the ports. Like, hey, listen, diesel price is very sky high right now. Give these guys a fuel surcharge, at least. You know, if we were all part of the same union, what the union can do is they can spread out a master lease contract to all the carriers involved with the ports and say, listen, abide by this contract. If you're going to hire owner-operators from the ports, abide by this contract, and the contract's going to make sure that we're paid the fuel surcharge and that we're paid for every hour that we're in the ports.
Right. So now there was an instance where Prime sued because when they figured out the hours that they were working, they were not even getting minimum wage. Would something like that apply for you guys?
I don't know, because quite frankly, we're not employees, so we don't have to get paid. We don't have to make minimum wage. We could technically, some of these drivers are making below minimum wage.
Prime sued as lease operators, didn't they? Or was it only
I don't know.
Drivers lease?
I do not know the answer to that one. I do not know the answer to that one.
All right.
I know that Prime sued one guy that drove for Prime. I don't know if he was an independent or if he was an employee. So, all right, Richie, tell everybody the name of your...
To answer your question real quick, the Teamsters are always here, too. They have an office here at the port area, and they invite drivers to come in. And they were trying to convince us for a long time that, no, you guys are not really independent. You're really employees. But that didn't fly too well with us too much. You know, it's like an ego thing, in my opinion.
Yep.
You know, you own a truck. You want to think that you're independent, but the reality is that we're not being treated like independent contractors. You know, they assign us loads and they say, listen, this is what we're paying. If you don't like it, we'll just give it to somebody else. That's what's happening.
Right. And there will be somebody that'll take it so cheap, and it hurts the rest of us for sure. That happens in every aspect of this industry. You know, those of us that know our bottom line and we will not haul freight for less than this, you know, we're like, let it sit on the dock. Somebody will go get it.
Yeah, exactly. And another problem is everybody seems to know what our bottom line is. The carriers and the steamship line companies, they know what it takes to run a truck, so they know exactly how much to pay. I've spoken to carrier owners, and they're like, yeah, these steamship lines, for some reason, they know exactly what to pay, and they won't budge under negotiation. You can't even negotiate a higher rate because they know exactly what to pay you. They know exactly what the going rate is for every lane. And I don't know how they know that, but they know it.
Well, I mean, yeah, that drives me insane too. I can say no. You guys can't, obviously. So when your family grows up, make sure you come out on the road. Be really your own boss.
It's all about leverage. It's all about leverage at the ports. Whoever controls the ports controls everything. And right now, the Longshoremen Union controls everything. They're a very powerful union. Very, very powerful. They treat drivers very, very horribly at the ports. You see them taking their sweet time on their phones. They talk to drivers very disrespectfully, and a lot of these drivers they either leave the ports or they just put up with it. That's where we're at right now.
Yeah. All right. So I hope you got a chance to read through the Pro Act and tell everybody your Facebook page again.
The Facebook page is NY/NJ and a little dash Pure Trucker.
Okay. So, and your goal is to get truckers exempted from the antitrust laws so that you can organize.
Yep.
Yeah.
To some degree,
So,
to some degree.
So, thanks,
All
Richie.
right.
Thanks for calling in. I'm going to take another call here. I got time for
All
one
right,
more.
thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
So you got anything to say about that before we move on?
No, I don't. I was under the assumption all them guys were already union that hauled containers. I knew they were owner-operators, but I was under the assumption they were with the Teamsters.
Now you know the truth.
Yep.
And that's where I say with this PRO Act, there's two things. They want people to be able to unionize.
Yes.
So for this PRO Act, you're going to be classified as an employee only for the fact of unionizing, nothing else. So that you can join the union, you can vote the union in, you can vote the union out. But truckers can't organize anyways and protest, let's say, rates, because now you're price fixing, and that's against the antitrust. So that doesn't even help us. So, all right, we got time for one more caller.
Hello.
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 Hi, how are y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
Okay.
Do you have a question or a comment or?
No, I just called in to say hello.
Hi, how are you?
Stressed. How about y'all?
I'm good.
Stressed?
Yeah. It's lovely when people who are supposed to be doing things at the government level don't do them, and you run into snags. So we've had this happen before. So in fact, I had a friend of mine get tossed around six different locations of the North Carolina DMV, and I still don't think they've got him straight on his plates. So that's a whole other story for a whole other day. I don't know. I just tuned in a little while ago. I don't know if you saw the article. I'm sorry, I'm tired. Biden is expected to sign an LTL driver pension relief package. And while the AFL, I got notice that the AFL-CIO is investing a very large amount of money into pushing this through or trying to push it through. And I don't know if you know that President Biden actually campaigned for this before he became president. There is a huge article on that. It's actually on the Biden-Harris page. It's joebiden.com/empower workers. And it goes into detail of what they will do. And one of the things that I want to touch on really quickly is if you think you're going to bust the union, they're going to come after you for trying to bust the union. They're going to come after you for going against the union. It's very clear in every publication that I've read. So the other thing that people are not discussing is the actual test. And I've tried to talk to the different other people that we all talk to. I don't know that I've made the circle of the rounds as much as I should have yet, but they want to be able to push this in such a way that you don't completely understand what's going to happen. And right now, my advice to people who don't completely understand is to talk to someone who's out in California. Get on Twitter and start reading these freelance writers testimonies, these truckers' testimonies. Not only, well, California lost, but New Jersey won. One of the ladies who wrote something that I put up on Facebook and Twitter, it was also in the Hill. That's where it was. It was an op-ed piece that she wrote. She's a freelance writer. And you could honestly replace every word that talked about a writer or someone else with some form of a trucker, and that would apply. This thing applies all across the nation to many different industries, many different trades, many different jobs. But they want to tell people, and they want to sugarcoat it, that joining the union is a great thing. And this is where I'm getting to. The Butch Lewis Pension Plan Relief Act of 2021 was included in the $1.9 trillion COVID rescue package. I don't know if you know that or not. What that's doing is it is saving the rear ends of the union and making sure their people's pensions get paid. Once again, now I don't know if you guys know too much about the unions, but they've been in trouble before with people's pensions.
Yep. Yeah, I know this.
So going on and looking at this, they're basically asking, and they've gotten approved for aid for their pensions. So if the union is such a great thing to do and such a great thing to be a part of, how are they still mismanaging people's money?
Because they're not using it for the pensions. They're using these monies for campaign contributions.
Well, they're using it for stuff like this to help the AFL-CIO fight. You know, they're allowed to charge a fee, so that takes away from driver's pay. That's why they don't want it. Every time, now I've been around the ports for a long time, but every time something has come up to get these guys unionized, now I don't know if you guys remember Wild Bill Henley from South Carolina, but now he's in Florida. He tried to get those guys to come together, and they did for a little bit, but then they got so much resistance. The other guys, they all turned on him. And you know the story of the port truckers out in California, how they all stood together. The thing of it is, this comes up in all the ports quite often, and there's other ways. You know, I don't know if all you just had on is talking to the guys from the Bi-State. The Bi-State is on Twitter, and they fought for a while. And the lady who wrote that article, she was part of the group that fought in New Jersey and won. She said it was a third of freelance writers, a third of something else, and the other third at the meeting and hearing was truckers, and they defeated it. So I guess you could say New Jersey is stronger than California. But if the people don't take this seriously and don't understand, I was telling the guy from one of the publications tonight, I said, you got to explain this thing. You can't just say that this is prong B and this is what it is, because the guys and gals in the industry, they just don't understand what that means. What it means is you're going to become an employee. If you meet certain guidelines, you're going to become classified as an employee. And a lot of guys are saying I got one guy coming at me pretty hard saying it's going to be right back to the old way where you could have two separate things. They write you a check for your truck, and then they write you a check for being a driver. This is completely different. This does not allow that. The people need to read this. If they have questions, they need to reach out to you guys, or the other guys, or me, or anybody else who knows about this. But we have to be calling. You know, I got harassed the other day for the same thing I've been saying for a while. You got to contact your representatives. You got to tell them to vote no. And the thing is, if we don't, you know, one of the guys said, go put your suit back on and go back up into D.C. That's not going to work. What needs to happen is a very simple phone call or email. Please don't vote for this. This is what's going to happen. Go on Twitter. Take some examples. Go on Facebook. Take some examples. Write them down. It doesn't have to be a lengthy conversation. But I'm going to go off for a second right here and say that guys have said things don't work. Well, you all know we had a conference call with 4 or 5 guys from all across the country. I had a guy from Northwest. I had a guy from Pennsylvania. I had myself and another guy from North Carolina. I had OIDA staff on it, and I opened the call up to anybody who wanted to be a part of that call. Now, because of that call, and because of the other people calling in and writing and having conference calls and meetings, we now have gotten the payroll protection plan to include. Now, I know this is what your thing is tonight. I'm going to get off of it in a second. You can, if you have a Schedule C, you can now file like all the other people filed. And I got a call today from the North Carolina SBA that said, I said to the lady, I said, what am I supposed to do? I said, I file a Schedule K. And she says, Mr. McKelvey, we've been instructed to tell you to file your Schedule K just like it is there on the form. It says Schedule C, but we are accepting that as a Schedule K right now. I was like, oh, okay. So obviously they took my suggestion, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that called in and said, you need to include people who file Schedule Ks. The only way that we get things done and changed is if we get involved. Instead of beating each other up and going, hey, this didn't work on this day because you guys didn't participate. That doesn't help us. What needs to happen right now is, and I hate to be saying it like that, but what needs to happen right now for the rest of the week until they take this up on the docket, because they're supposed to hit the docket this week. Somebody said they thought it was supposed to be voted on today, but I don't know. I didn't hear that it was. But call your congressman.
They see that it was, yes.
Okay.
There was a roll call vote today for the bill, title, and description, providing for consideration of H.R. 842, Protecting the Right to Organize Act, H.R. 8. It voted yay, 213 to 195. That's the House of Representatives today. And which we all kind of knew it was going to pass there. The fight is literally in the Senate. So at this point in time, you need to call your senators, because the last time the Senate didn't pass it, so we got to keep the fight there.
Right. And the only thing that we will be able to do is, if, God forbid, it passes, is to sue them. Because if you here's the thing, I don't know if you guys talked about this or not, but if you get classified as an employee, okay, what are you going to do? It takes 30 days to get your authority, if not longer. Can you afford the down payment for insurance?
Well, the other thing you have to remember is this PRO Act won't take effect until 2023.
January 1st, 2023. So you've got an election between now and then. And hopefully, if it does go through, the election in 2022 will eliminate this.
Hopefully, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't sit back and take action, right?
No. I agree. No. I agree, 100%.
Okay, good.
So,
okay,
all right, we got
you.
ahead. I appreciate your call. Thanks for calling in.
All right, bye.
Bye.
So, everybody have a good night. Thanks for coming in. Feel free to start sending the hate mail.
Well, I hope one thing that was done is told people not to panic. Is this a good bill? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.